Hi friends, today's presentation is going to be on the subject Appreciation of English Literary Text according to the e-learning program of Jaffna Indy College powered by Capital Television, and I am N.Kesavan and I am a grade 11 student. Today's presentation is going to be for the GCE ordinary level students. So as you can see, the poem I chose for today is I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, which was written by Maya Angelou. And this poem comes under the category of society. So the social and ethnical and economical changes are considered into the society. So if you are choosing the society for your examination, you can better watch my video. So now let's move on to the contents. First of all, we're going to take a look at the author's life. More than where she was born or when she was born, we're going to talk about why she was get involved into the literature and why she was get involved in the literature. And then there are some things we should know before we enter into this poem. Some of you get confused between two or more words, and I am going to differentiate each of them and explain them. After that, an introduction will be given to you, and I will prefer it as a kickstart for your introduction, not an introduction on the poem, but for your point of view introduction. And then analysis of stanzas and poetic techniques. As you can see, the poetic techniques are considered in the analysis because I thought that the poetic techniques has more use than referring to something else. Then it has a purpose for explaining the matter. So the poetic techniques and the analysis will be given in the same slides, and then after that themes, and after that question analysis will be given. Finally, we're going to take a look at the recent incident which shook the whole world. Okay, now let's move to the next slide. Into the author's life. You can see a photo of Maya Angelou. She's smiling, but when she was younger, she had a very miserable life. So the smile has some terror also. So as I already said, we are not going to talk about where she was born or when she was born. We are going to talk about why she was motivated to write literature. Because of her life, I would say. Because when she was 8 years old, she was abducted by her own mother's boyfriend. You can see she was just an 8-year-old. So it will be hard for an 8-year-old girl to manage that fact. And as she said it to her brother, the brother told the uncles. So the uncles killed that man, which caused her to not talk for nearly 5 years, and more than 5 years she didn't speak to anybody. And as a black woman, that's why she wrote the international best-selling non-fiction I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. Please don't get confused between the novel and the poem. Poem is just a part of the novel, and the novel is a length classic autobiography of Maya Angelou, and it was the first best-selling non-fiction. It was the first best-selling non-fiction ever written by an Afro-American. The first best-selling non-fiction ever written by an Afro-American, and that was the autobiography of Maya Angelou, and the name is I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. As you can see, I have mentioned the ignored, young people and women, better to say youths. She never hesitated to speak her mind. Angelou passionately defended the rights of the women, youths and ignored ones. So the I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings poem is also talks about the social discrimination. So you will get the fact that I'm saying here also in the poem, as you can find. So the final of the poet's life, even though she had a miserable childhood, now she is one of the images of modern discrimination and the voice for the youths and women all around the world. Even though she had a very miserable past life, she fighted for her freedom. She fighted what she wanted. She fighted for the freedom of women, she fighted for the freedom of youths, and she fighted for the freedom of the discriminated ones. And she died on 28th May of 2014. We lost a great soul from this world on that date. So, as I already said, some of you get confused between two things, and those two things we're going to talk in this in the things to know about the poem under the topic of things to know about the poem. First of all, what are things you can, better to say, what are themes you can find out throughout the poem? First of all, it's racial discrimination, and then feminism. So, please don't get complicated for the fact that I have mentioned the feminism, because feminism is not the main theme. Racial discrimination is the main theme, but you can slightly see the appearance or the entry of feminism in the poem I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. For instead of racial discrimination, there are more words to describe it. Ethnical discrimination or color discrimination. You can say many words, but it's better to prefer racial discrimination than the other words. So, what is feminism? Feminism is a range of social movements, political movements, and ideologies that aim to define, establish, and achieve the political, economical, personal, and social equality of the sexes. It's fighting for women who are equal to men. There is no one better than no one. That is what feminism fights for. As you can see, somebody gets confused between the word chauvinism with feminism. As you can see, feminism is fighting for the women, while chauvinism is fighting against the women. So don't get confused between two of these words. And also there's another word called masculinism. This word is also the opposite of two of these words, because masculinism doesn't fight against women. It's fight for men. It started around 1980s in order to develop the lifestyle of men. So they thought that there was some errors in the men system, and masculinism was brought out as a view for the men to develop in this world. So the racism is the main theme of this poem. Racism is the belief that groups of humans possess different behavioral traits corresponding to physical appearance and can be divided based on the superiority of one race over another. This is the first phrase you have to mention if you have anything about racism. One race over another. If you want an example, like Nazis, they thought that they were the better and bigger race ever lived in this world. So they killed Jews who were innocent. Most of the Jews died during the World War II because of the arrogance of the Nazis, better to say the racism of the Nazis. That is what happened in the America, which classified white American and Afro-American. So now we have finished the themes and understanding how to understand them each and everything. Now let's move on to the introduction. I already said you, the introduction is going to be just a kickstart for you, not a introduction for the whole poem. It's an introduction for your view in this poem. So the subjugation, first of all you should know about the word subjugation. And what is subjugation is? What is subjugation? Subjugation is dominance. Oh, better to say under control. If you are ruled by somebody else, then it's we call simply the under control of somebody, the subjugation exerted on the Afro-American people in their day-to-day life, and the challenges faced by women from all around the world is still happening. And we do not see the truth, and even if we heard, we act like we don't know anything. We leave it like we don't know anything. But Maya Angelou made those things change and started a revolution in her way through her literary work, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This literary work, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, was written for the purpose to fight against social discrimination. So you can see the I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings was written because of the social discrimination, because of the cruelty faced by the Afro-Americans. As you can see, the meaning of revolution, somebody of you know, somebody of you may not know, but the meaning of revolution is overthrow of any kind of acts. Even its political acts, it's a revolution. Even it's an economical act, it's a revolution. So please consider these two words when you write for an introduction. And it's not an introduction for your essay, it's just a point of view. It's an introduction for your point of view towards this poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now let's move on to the next slide, which is the poetic techniques and analysis. So, poetic techniques and analysis. I have given you the poetic techniques in here. You can see personification, simple, exaggeration, enjambment, and imagery. First of all, let's do not read the meaning and find the poetic techniques without the meaning. The free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to climb the sky. Okay, you can easily find that there's a mention of word his. So you can mention it as personification because the free bird has been expressed as a human. So his wings. And also leaps is not an action of a bird, but it can be considered for some animals, but more it's considered for human. But more than this word, we can prefer easily his. It's an easy word to find the personification. And then imagery. You can see the visual imagery, but the main imagery you have to consider here is the orange sun rays. You can see the color imagery. And after that, we have seen the personification and we have seen the imagery. And now, the enjambment. Where you can find the enjambment? On the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wings. Run on lines. Run on lines. On the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wings in the orange skies and dares to climb the sky. The run on lines can be seen as the enjambment. And finally, exaggeration. Exaggeration. Getting near the sun is very hard, but it's impossible, I would prefer to say. But the poet has mentioned the free bird is near to the sky, near to the sun. So we can find the exaggeration. Now we are reading without the meaning, so we can find the exaggeration easily. But until now, a symbol hasn't been revealed, and the purpose of personification and exaggeration hasn't been revealed, because now we're going to read it through with the meaning according to the analysis. Simple. The poem starts with the word the free bird, which refers to the ones who are unencumbered by prejudice, and as the poem evolves and delivers the enjoyment and the freedom of the free bird, in his life each and every day. Each and every day. Now, you all are wondering about this red words. Unencumbered mean not affected, while prejudice mean not based on a true reason. You can see the free bird refers to the ones who are unencumbered, who are not affected by this prejudice, what's happening to the Afro-American, not based on any reason, by this prejudice. And as the poem evolves and delivers the enjoyment and the freedom that a free bird can have in this world each and every day. So the free bird refers to the white American. If you get it directly, you can prefer the word privileged. Privileged to say, because it's better to not directly discriminating, but we can use a better word, privileged. The poem starts with the word the free bird, which is privileged people, which refers to the ones who are unencumbered by the prejudice, who are the white Americans. And as the poem evolves and delivers the enjoyment and freedom, the unlimited enjoyment and freedom, we can see that clearly in the next technique, exaggeration. In the 5th and 6th line of the first stanza, we can see that the poet has used exaggeration to unveil the fact, to reveal the fact, the unlimited freedom and the dream that a free bird can have in this world. Unlimited, but unveil means reveal. So the exaggeration has been used to just to exaggerate the point of view of Maya Angelou towards the white Americans and the freedom that they can have in this world. That is what the suggestion of the exaggeration in this poem. As you can see, let's read the 5th and 6th lines, right? In the orange sun rays, 5th, 6th, 7th, also the 7th, you can see. And dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to climb the sky. Dares to climb the sky. The power has been showed in this phrase, dares to climb the sky, and also the orange sun rays. As I already said, no one can reach the sun, but the free bird is enjoying that much of height, means that much of freedom. He can do anything because the free bird lives in the back of the wind and flows downstream. He doesn't have to do anything at all. He's just going with the stream, which means that he doesn't have to do anything. He lives enjoyably. So the poem, the symbol and the exaggeration, both has been used to reveal the fact about the white Americans, better to say privileged people, and the freedom that they can have in this world and the enjoyment they have in their each and everyday life. Finally, personification. Nobody would see the meaning of the personification directly, and I would like to say the personification has been used not only to refer to the free bird as white American, but also to refer the value of comparing the bird with men and the chauvinism, because she has referred the word his wings with the men and the chauvinism. And also in the latter part of the poem, you can see the his for the cage bird. According to this stanza, let's just divide and look only in this stanza, you can see the chauvinism, the value of comparing the men and chauvinism cannot be seen if there was no personification. There was no personification, it cannot be seen. So the personification's point of view in this poem is to deliver the chauvinism. And also the partisanship is the main theme of the poem. Even though the partisanship refers to discrimination. But discrimination is like for the ones who are exerted out of this society, but partisanship is favoring one society. It's like a slightly opposite word of discrimination, but also it has the same aspects and the same outputs. So now let's move on. Stanza 2. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. As you can see, but a bird that stalks. Stalks refers to walking angrily. Stalks refers to walking angrily down his narrow cage. A free bird in a cage which is very small for him, there's no space, no enough space for him, can seldom see through his bars of rage. The bars of rage, we will elaborate the meaning, I will elaborate the meaning in the latter part, but now let's just read. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied. You can see how cruel it is. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. He cannot do anything at all. So he opens his throat to sing. What a bird can do. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied. So the only solution for him is just to sing. So that has been explained in this stanza 2. The cruelty, the agony, the pain faced by an Afro-American or the discriminated one in this society has been brought to our eyes in this second stanza. Now let's move to the simple imagery. You can visually see the imagery, and the pain has been visually brought to our eyes due to the poetic technique of Maya Angelou. And also the simple. Here we cannot refer to the word cage bird because there's no mention of cage bird at all. But the title of this poem is I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. So there's a cage bird in this title. So we can consider cage bird has been given in this stanza and consider it as a simple. And metaphors, as I already said, his wings are clipped and his feet are tied. All of them are referring to the agony and the pain faced by each and everyday life of a cage bird. Not to say cage bird, for a discriminated one. The pain and the agony and the bars of rage. I will elaborate that fact later. Anaphora. But a bird down that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. His bars of rage, his wings are clipped and his feet are tied. If a poem's line starts with the same word continuously, then we consider it as an anaphora. So the personification is already given, his. And also we can see the repetition, only the word his. So we cannot consider it as a main poetic technique that have a meaning in this stanza. In this stanza, you can clearly see the lives of the persecuted people is totally different, and their life is the antithesis of the free bird, and how the pain and agony faced by the oppressed ones has been brought to our eyes. Persecuted. Persecuted is a word that refers to ill-treated, who are not considered as, they were not considered equal, and they considered as animal. They were considered as animals, and they were given only the respect of an animal that can have, which means they were given only the pain, not any enjoyment, not any kind of freedom. For the persecuted people is totally different, and their life is the antithesis, exact opposite is the meaning of the word antithesis of the free bird, and how the pain and agony faced by the oppressed ones has been brought to our eyes. Oppressed. Instead of suppressed, we can also use the word oppressed. The pain and agony, the metaphor usage for the pain and agony, and the antithesis of the free bird. Now she is comparing with the free bird and the cage bird. You can see in the first stanza it delivers the fact on the free bird. In the second stanza it delivers the fact about cage bird. So this is what we can see from this slide. So we move on to the next slide. His bars of rage, an excellent metaphor to reveal the inner struggle faced by the cage bird, and shows how his freedom has been captured and the dreams have been shattered and his uncontrollable anger is suppressed by the bars around him. Rage is a word that refers to agony from anger. The only thing that surrounds him as bars is the agony of him. The pain that a cage bird that has in each and every day in his life, that has been brought out as the agony through the word his bars of rage. Agony is the only thing that surrounds him. No way to escape from this hell, I would say. Prefer the word hell. And the dreams have been shattered. There's no way to find his life. There's no way for his freedom, and the dream is his freedom. The freedom is his dream. But all of them are captured and shattered. And his uncontrollable anger is suppressed. His uncontrollable anger is suppressed means how cruelly they are under the control of the privileged people, how cruelly they are ill-treated, how they are how they are forced to exert as an outskirt in this society. And that is what we can find also in this second stanza. Now, final in the second stanza, from the torture and torments, he cannot stand against the anguish from the upper class ones. So he starts to sing for them, given his freedom. Anguish from the upper class. Anguish is a word which is a better word to represent the pain. But the agony, also pain and the agony. So he cannot stand against the pain. So he starts to sing. You can see, according to the here. So he opens his throat to sing. This refers to the given his freedom. He has lost his hope for the freedom. The only thing he now has is lost hope. From the torture and torments. It's also a better word you can use instead of the pain. So that is what we can see through the whole second stanza. Now let's move on to the third stanza. So I won't be able to explain all of the poetic techniques because we have already seen many of them. So I will just prefer it. The cage bird already is simple with a fearful trill. We can consider it as a metaphor of things unknown but long for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill. For the cage bird sings of freedom. You can see still, trill, hill. The easy poetic techniques you can easily find in the stanza third. And the imagery, because the visual image has been brought out as the fearful trill of things unknown but long for still on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. We can imagine how he is fighting for his freedom. The visual imagery can be shown here. And finally, the symbol and the metaphors. We have already seen a symbol. So the cage bird refers to the one who are under control, who are discriminated, who are persecuted ones. But metaphor has more impact in this stanza than other poetic techniques. And we will be looking at them in the next later slides. But now I will tell you the meaning. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill. Fearful trill. He is afraid. Oh, better to say scared. He's scared of the things the white Americans are exerting on the Afro-American people. He's afraid because if he tries to escape from them, they will murder. So he has to be afraid of things unknown, but longed for still. He is still fighting. It's never ending. And his tune is set on the distant hill. Distant hill is a metaphor because we can consider distant hills as the whole world. His voice is heard in the whole world, for the cage bird sings of freedom. Even though he sings, given his freedom, according to the second stanza, we thought that he has given his freedom, but now distant hills and he sings of freedom. Even though he sings for the privileged people, he sings for his freedom, not for them. He doesn't sing of them, he doesn't praise them, he sings for his freedom. That has been shown. So the hope is still in the Afro-American people. Now let's move on to the analysis. Fearful thrill. A line which shows that how much scared is the cage bird, which is a metaphor in order to show us how the biased people are controlled under the privileged people. Biased. Discriminated. Not on any reason. They are the discriminated ones, but for no reason, because it's just color, it's just race, but still it cannot be considered as a true reason. Biased people are controlled under the privileged people. I have mentioned the word privileged here. So I've already explained you this part, but the main thing that we're going to look again is melancholic tone. You can see melancholic refers to afraid and anger, but afraid. Melancholic. He is having so much anguish and pain. Anger inside of pain. There's so much anger that exerts from him, but he is afraid to deliver them because he is thinking that he can have worse punishment than the ones before. So he is afraid. He is so much scared to show his feeling. So the melancholic is the tone that you can refer to the questions. If there was any lines based on the third stanza, you can refer to the tone as melancholic. Now, the next slide. Symbol, the purpose of the symbol. Distant hill implies that the voice of the cage bird and his affliction is heard everywhere in the world, and the resilience of the cage bird is sung. You have to separate this one and the first one and the second one. We're going to look at them differently. Cage bird and his affliction. Affliction is pain. If you are writing these meanings of these words, I would say please don't, because in the latter part I have given you the meaning for each of these words, so don't worry about that. So his affliction is heard everywhere in the world, and the resilience, getting up from the pain. Relieved. The resilience, even though the pain is there, they are standing against them. That is what the resilience refers to, the capacity to stand. The simple imply influence that the voice of the caged bird and his affliction is heard everywhere, because they are referred to the distant hills as the whole world. So that is the first one. Second one is that simple again as metaphors. The resilience of the caged bird is shown, even though because in the last line you can see, For the caged bird sings of freedom. You can see. For the caged bird sings of freedom. That's the line we are referring to here. So, you can finish the simple part in this poem. And finally, the meaning. Even though the caged bird starts to sing for the blue-blooded people, it doesn't sing about them. It sings about the freedom that he wanted, the enjoyment and the opportunities that he is supposed to have too in this world. Blue-blooded. What does it refer to? Got a different line here, but blue-blooded. What does it refer to? Blue-blooded refers to the privileged people, but it's an American term because the privileged people, if they comes under from generation to generation, instead of saying normal, they were considered as blue-blooded because through the generation they have been powerful. So the blue-blooded people, it doesn't sing about them. It sings about the freedom that he wanted. Even though he is singing for them, he doesn't sing about them. He sings about the freedom and the enjoyment that he is supposed to have in this world too. So, the third stanza talks about the resilience of the bird. The fighting for his freedom of the bird, of the caged bird, has been shown in the third stanza. So now let's move on to the fourth stanza. First of all, let's just read it without the meaning and find the easy techniques. The free bird already is simple. Thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees. This line, we can consider it later, but it has an importance than anything. And the fat worms is a metaphor. Waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. So, what can you find? Dawn, bright lawn. It's an internal rhyme. Dawn and on, yeah, there's a rhyming, but it has more impact than a normal rhyme. The internal rhyme has more impact in just a single line. So, now let's read it with the meaning. The free bird thinks of another breed. Now, until now, while the caged bird is fighting and crying and feeling the anguish and the pain exerted on him, while that is happening, the free bird is thinking of another breeze, another moment that has been mentioned in the first stanza, another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees. I have mentioned you it has a deep meaning because trade winds, we can understand that privileged people are making themselves develop from the anguish and the pain while the caged bird is working. In order to say, like, while the discriminated people or the underclass people are working, they are getting the benefits from this underclass people without any reason. That's what has been shown in the trade winds soft through the sighing trees. From the sighing trees, because the trees have to move in order to create the wind. Sorry, if the wind comes, sighing trees, but if we visually imagine, we can see the tree is moving, so it's a child's imagination. The tree is moving, so the wind is producing. So, not as scientifically, but as normally, think of it as from the sighing trees, the simple for the Afro-American ones. The trade winds are the hard work they are exerting and how they are benefited from these trade winds. How the blue-blooded people are benefited from this discrimination. And the fat worms is a metaphor to refer the opportunities that a free bird can have in his life, and he names the sky his own. Sky his own. Nobody can own even a continent, even a country, even a single landmark is hard to capture, but the names the sky his own refers to that he is more powerful than anything. So in order to defeat him, we cannot defeat him. That is what explained here. And name the sky his own. So he is the leader for everything. Then how the oppressed ones, the discriminated ones are supposed to fight against them? It's impossible. That's what Maya Angelou is trying to say in the fourth stanza. The poetess Maya Angelou shows us again how the free bird indulges in his luxury of freedom and wants more than that, while the caged bird is suffering from the enthrallment. Enthrallment, another word of pain. Indulge, experience, I would say, experience his luxury of freedom and wants more than that, while the caged bird is suffering from the enthrallment. As you can see, it's Maya Angelou's view that while the free bird is indulging in luxury, the caged bird is suffering from the enthrallment. How it could be done? Because there should be social equality for each and everybody, and that is what the Maya Angelou is fighting for, and that is what has been shown in the fourth stanza of the poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. The trade winds tells us the power of the free bird, while the sighing trees refers to the cries of the discriminated people. This hidden message portrays the fact, this hidden message. If you have any contrast or confusion, please don't consider this fact. This hidden message portrays the fact that the dominant people develop themselves by scraping all the resources and the work of the discriminated people, because they are developing themselves. Because how can one develop themselves if there's no wastage? But that wastage is there. The wastage is considered to be the discriminated ones. The power, the energy that one should have to develop themselves, the energy of the discriminated people. The energy of the discriminated people has been shown here. So from the resources of the discriminated, from the resources of the African American people, the privileged people are developing themselves. I've already told you the meaning. Now, let's move on to the final meaning. The fat worms represents the endless opportunities that it have in his life. And the repetition of the last line clearly shows us that he is the dominant one and there is no power that could overthrow him. Literally shows that how hard it would be for the caged bird to get its freedom from this savagery. I have mentioned the word savagery because savagery is another word for cruelty. And the cruelty has been expressed, and also how they are benefiting from this caged bird, while all of these resources are gone and all of these resources are captured by the white American. So what can it do? Because there's the sky his own. Because he climbs the sky his own, but it's impossible to fight against them. As I already said, it's impossible to fight against the privileged people from the discriminated people. That's what has been shown here. So let's move to the next slide. Stanza 5. Imagery, rhyme, oxymoron, and anaphora, symbol, personification, enjambment. So repetition is the word. So he opens his throat to sing. We can find the repetition here, and also the enjambment, because the one-on lines. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scheme. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. So this can be considered as one of the enjambment types. Imagery, we can see clear the nightmare scream and the grave that he is standing on. We can see the visual imagery in this word, grave of dreams. But also Grave of Dreams has another poetic technique, and that is oxymoron. What is oxymoron? Having contrasting ideas in the same phrase, because dreams is the ambition, is you're fighting for something, then it's a dream. But grave, it refers to death. Death and hope. If you take it directly, there is no hope. So, as the time had gone, I'll finish the latter part in the next video. So, thank you.